Hey Ruben, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Awesome. So Good Grief Movement, can you tell me how this all got started?
The Good Grief Friday movement, how did it get started? Well, how this movement got started, August the 8th, 2021, my wife passed away, which was a life-changing experience for me personally. She had a 2-year battle with colon cancer and subsequently passed away on August the 8th, 2021. And just that whole moment and everything that I went through at that time just kind of sent me into a spiral of just really and truly trying to process grief. I didn't really know how I was feeling. I just know that I was super sad all the time. And the only time I felt like myself was when I was at work. And I know that wasn't healthy. And so, as crazy as it sounds, I was talking to a friend of mine, and a friend of mine asked me a question that kind of morphed into this situation. And that question was simply, what does your grief look like? And when that happened, I couldn't say, I couldn't explain it. I couldn't describe it. There was nothing I could do. I was just like, wow, what does my grief look like? And all I know that I could describe at that moment was just, I'm like sad. I wake up crying. I get home, pull in the house, I'm crying, go to bed crying, and even to the point of not even wanting to go home because that was the home that we shared. And so I think it all started with that. Now, this is not something that I wanted to do. I didn't seek out and say, hey, what's a good thing that I can do to help people? It kind of got thrown in my lap, and I just had to figure out a way for my grief to look different. And that's how the movement got started.
Before you started the podcast, you started posting on Instagram. I mean, what was your thought behind posting weekly?
So once the question got posed to me about what does your grief looks like, and I couldn't answer that question, I really started kind of seeking God and just trying to get an understanding of what it looked like. And God challenged me. And what he asked me to do was make a video, post it every Friday, and the title of that video would be Good Grief Fridays. And his challenge to me was to do 10 of them. And it was like, do 10 videos, post them every week on Friday, call them Good Grief Fridays, and each video had his own message to it. That in itself became a game changer, number one for me, because a lot of people looked at the videos and said, hey man, you're really helping me. You've been a blessing and we thank you so much for it. But the real truth of the matter was the person that was really getting help was me. It was giving me an outlet to really and truly talk about my grief, talk about the things that I was picking up during the week or the nuggets that God was giving me during the week. And so I really just used that energy to try to be something positive. The Bible is very clear. It talks about where God says, give and it shall be given. And a lot of times we hear that around offering time at church, give and it shall be given. But God shared with me, anything that you're willing to give, that you give out of your need, that he's going to give back to you. And I felt like those words of wisdom, those encouraging words, that as much as I was able to give out, God would give those things back to me. So that's where the Good Grief Friday videos started, and it is crazy. It is truly crazy because people that I don't even think watch the video, they'll come up and be like, man, I've been watching your videos. When you going to drop the next video? And all that. I'll be like, I didn't even know you were watching it because, obviously everything is monitored by views. And it's just like, people say, hey, it's truly helped them. And I think that in itself is really what God wanted. And I believe God is pleased in that.
You realized it was an outlet that not only helped yourself, but helped others. Do you feel that this is an untapped subject?
Wow. I'm not going to use the term untapped. I'm going to take it deeper. I think it's taboo. I think we're not taught to talk about grief. I think we're taught to, suck it up, be strong. When people pass away, the key phrase that people always say is, hey, be strong, be strong. And I think when we get down to the crux of it, when you're experiencing that amount of hurt in your life, you know, you don't really know what be strong actually means. You know, be strong. I mean, tell me in this moment, what does be strong mean? I actually had an opportunity. I was watching or been to, and this happens at every, you know, homegoing service. You have people, and I think they mean well. They get up and make comments, you know, remarks about the person who has passed, and they try to speak to the family, and they throw out just universal things that you can pick any funeral and you'll hear those same words. And the words are the same. It's be strong, be of good cheer, you know, God's got you, you know, all these things, but nobody really talks about, you know, what that looks like. And for myself, I was like, well, people are telling me, hey man, be strong. I'm like, well, tell me what be strong means. Tell me what it looks like. Tell me, how do I be strong when I've just experienced one of the most devastating things I could have experienced, you know, in my life. And I'm trying my best to just navigate to hopefully wake up the next day, and you're telling me be strong. So I think it's not that it's untapped. I just think that it's taboo. You know, it's easy for us to just try to hide and sweep things under the rug than it is to say, let me talk about how I feel with what's going on with me right now. So I think what one of the other things that God challenged me with that, and I believe this speaks to that question you asked me, is God challenged me, just start a conversation. If we're able to start a conversation dealing with grief in an open arena such as this, then people will be able to get the help that they need, so that they're able to heal in the best place. And I'm not coming to you sitting down and say, hey, I'm healed. I'm coming to you saying I'm a broken man and I'm just trying to find my way. But God has challenged me to give what I need.
Why is it important to openly have these conversations?
Why is it important to openly have these conversations? Well, back in the day, especially in our community, back in the day, secrets were the thing. You know, our parents kept secrets from us. You know, the generation before them kept secrets. And so that was the whole thing that moved people back in the day. It was like, hey, let's not tell the family secret, because if we tell the family secret, then somebody actually might break the curse, which is not what they were thinking. They were just like, oh, well, they don't need to know. And I believe the reason why it's important to have an open dialogue right now, or a conversation, is we have to get back to a place where we can understand each other. And the only way to truly understand someone is, one, that person has to be able to speak their truth. Two, we have to be willing to listen to their truth. And I think when there's a loss of a loved one, you know, sometimes, you know, people just say, hey, keep it in, hold it in. But the reality of it is, all you're doing is holding something in that's going to bust one day. And when it bursts, it's no telling what may happen. So I think it's important for us to make people, or put people in a position where they feel comfortable enough to just talk about it. You know, many people seek counseling, and counseling is excellent. And I tell anybody, you know, get you a counselor, get somebody that you can talk to, someone that will listen to you, so that you can get to that healed space. And then with anything that we're willing to talk about, we're willing to move past. And I don't think, you know, loss of a loved one is something that you'll ever get over, but we just have to be in a space where we're able to get past it.
Since starting the Good Grief movement, have you found that people are becoming more receptive to speaking about this topic?
Have I found that people are more receptive to speak about this topic? The answer to that question is yes. And it's crazy. I've had conversations with people that I know personally, and after having those conversations, I was like, man, I didn't even know that person. You know, I knew the representative that they put up, but there was so much hurt behind the scenes that it was crazy. And so I've had conversations with people who, you know, man, I don't even want to get into it right here, because hopefully I'm going to bring them on the show and we'll be able to talk about it openly. But I find that people are more open to talk. If they know that someone will listen without judging them, and truly hear their heart, they're more open to talk. And here's the other thing, right? You have to find, that person has to find the person that they can connect with. Just because a person is open to talk and there's somebody that's willing to listen, those may not necessarily be the great connection, because, who knows what that person is getting ready to say, and you have to be prepared for it. But so, with that, I would tell people, which is what I've encountered, when people open up to me, man, I tell them, I say, first of all, let's seek God for wisdom and make sure I'm the person that you need to be talking to. And if I'm not the person that you need to be talking to, let's pray and seek God for wisdom that he'll reveal that person to us so that you'll be able to get the help that you need and that you deserve. So to answer your question, it's crazy how open people have become once I encounter them. This happened. Oh my goodness. This happened today. No, was it today? This happened yesterday. Where a gentleman, I walked into a store, and there's a gentleman in there, and I walked in. I'm just kind of walking around looking at some different things, and as I was getting ready to leave the store, this gentleman was like, "Ruben Mosley, oh my God, man, listen, man, I listened to your podcast, I watch your videos." He was like, "Man, you're blessing me, you're helping me. I'm looking like, I didn't even know he watched. I didn't know, there's nothing that told me this guy paid attention." My point to this is, that means that there's something that's being said that's making him feel comfortable about opening up about his own brokenness. I'm going to say that again. This movement is giving people an opportunity to open up about their own brokenness. I'm going to say that one more time. This movement is giving people an opportunity to open up about their own brokenness. The Bible is very clear. It says we are overcomers by the words of our testimonies. That's what we're doing.
The willingness to share.
Yes, willingness to share. Absolutely.
You also talk about trust the process, a term that most of us are familiar with, but could you expand on this phrase a bit more?
Okay, trust the process. So this one hits home. My wife, Angela Mosley, used to minister to some young ladies every day, on Monday through Friday. And she would always find some kind of phrase or some kind of, word or nugget to kind of give to them. And she always put a song with it. And at the end of it, she would always caption it off with trust the process. And when she was diagnosed, I'll never forget, we were going to chemo one morning, and I was like, babe, what are we going to do? She said, all I have is to simply trust the process. And that was her moniker through the whole thing, was I'm trusting the process. I'm trusting the process. So when she passed away, God gave me trust the process. He was like, you watched her. She was the strongest woman I know. And I was like, okay, trust the process. And if you see our logo, trust the process logo, I have it set up with a crooked T, a crooked R, and then it's straight when it says UST. And then, of course, the process is straight. But it's birthed from Jeremiah 29:11, where it says, for I know the plans that I have for you. And the purpose behind all of this is when we start thinking about trusting the process, when God says he has a plan for our lives, and our job is to figure out what that plan is, right? And I did a message some years ago, and I talked about that, finding where it says, God, it says, I'll give you the desires of your heart. And the reality of it is the desire that you're looking for is what he's already placed inside of you. So we run around through life playing pin the tail on the donkey, trying to figure out, well, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing? What is my purpose in life? And once we figure that out, then we have to trust the process through the road. So when we came up with trust the process, I'm a guy that wants to be transparent. I want to be transparent. I want to be something that's real and something that people can relate to. When God lays out the process or starts taking us down the path of the process, the reality is it's a difficult path to start out in the beginning because it doesn't look familiar. It doesn't feel familiar. It doesn't smell familiar. It doesn't taste familiar. What it does is it's all of a sudden it's stretching us outside of our comfort zone. And so when we first start that process, it's crooked because we're like, okay, God, you sure this is what you want me to do? I mean, can we figure out something else? What are we doing? Right? But as we're in the process, that's when we're able to figure out that God knew what he was doing the entire way. So that's where Trust the Process came from. And that's how it was birthed. And that is our moniker going forward, is Trust the Process.
Do you feel that time will help with getting over grief?
Here's my honest opinion on it. I don't think you ever get over it. I think you're able to move past, but I don't think you ever get over. So what time does, in my opinion, is helps us deal with it better. The whole movement, the Good Grief Fridays movement, is really not about forgetting that we're dealing with grief, or it's not about acting like grief doesn't exist. It's about grieving in a healthy space. There's a book I've read, and it says, getting past what you'll never get over. And many times the things that we've gone through that have caused us or put us in a grief space, we're never going to get over those things. And I think it's unrealistic to believe that you'll get over it, because that never happens. I believe the goal is to be able to be in a space where we can grieve and grieve healthy. I'll give you a case in point. My brother passed away November the 6th, 1988. My oldest brother, Sidney Mosley. Matter of fact, I have a daughter named after him. To this day, I remember exactly what I was doing the moment he passed. I remember exactly where I was. I remember the exact day. I remember the hospital visit. I remember every single thing to this day. I've never forgotten it. It's never been wiped from my brain. But I've been able to deal with it in a healthier space than what I was in back then. So to answer your question, I don't think we ever get over it. But I do pray and believe that we're able to get past it to a point where we're able to grieve healthy.
What do you hope to accomplish with this movement?
Whatever God's will is. Whatever God has set out and set in motion, I just pray that his will is accomplished. One of the things I can tell you, that there's been more things happen to me since we started this movement that I can't even explain, to where I have to step back and be like, okay, God, you did that, because that don't even make sense. So I know that God is doing something miraculous right now. And I believe there are going to be more and more lives touched and more people being able to grieve in a healthy space. And let me say this here. You have to want to grieve in a healthy space. If you have no desire to be healthy in your grief, then you're never going to be healthy in your grief. I'm going to say that again. You have to have a desire to be healthy in your grief. If you have no desire, you're never going to be healthy in it. So I just pray, or my prayer sincerely is that God is able to give people the hope that they need so that they're able to experience the grief, but in a healthy space, so that we can have healthy people walking around. If not, we're going to have a lot of broken people walking around, and no one wants to be broken all their life. So that's what this movement is truly about.
We talked about trusting the process and just exactly what that means. How did you coin the phrase good grief?
So there is a congressman, I believe, named John Lewis, who passed away, I believe, last year. And he used to talk about getting in good trouble. You know, it's okay to get in trouble as long as it's good trouble. Well, those two words don't go together. You know, there's nothing good about trouble, and there's nothing trouble about good, right? And so it hit me. It was like, you know what, grief is the same thing. There's nothing good about grief, and there's nothing grief about good. And God was like, well, that's what you're going to call it, Good Grief Friday. Because grief done in a healthy space is good. I'm going to say that again. Grief done in a healthy space is good. Why do I say it's good? Well, we're all going to grieve at some point. I was saying this earlier. I believe Isaiah said, in the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord, right? So that means that even in a grief moment, there's something that's there that's good that I can hang my hat on. And in most cases, and in all cases, it gives us a clearer aspect of who God truly is. And so God was like, we're going to call it Good Grief Fridays. Now, why Fridays? I don't know. It's like the ending of the week. It's when we get ready for the weekend. I have no clue why he was like Fridays. But he said, call it Good Grief Fridays. And that's really where it came from.
Earlier, you said something about working all day or all week and staying busy.
Right.
And then Friday comes and then your reality.
Absolutely. You're right. So to my earlier point, work was a place where I could hide. But, I'm in the car business, so we don't have Fridays and Saturdays. But but Fridays, most people work Monday through Friday. And if you're hiding out at work, trying to hide your grief, well, then Friday, as soon as you clock out, go home, you got to face reality, which when you get home or get in your car or whatever, grief is waiting on you. You don't get to hide again until Monday morning. So maybe that's what God was thinking. So thank you. You cleared that up for me. Because I was wondering, like, why Fridays, God? But you see how he works? Thank you.
Okay, I think that wraps up my questions for today.
Well, listen, I thank you so much for having questions to ask me. And I pray that this here kind of lets people know, what we're doing here with the Good Grief Fridays movement. And I just wanted to everybody to know that we're trying to be a blessing to someone else. So God has commissioned me to give out what I need. And I believe that we're all going to be in a better space. And so I'm just praying for everyone who watching this video. I'm asking that you would like it, share it. We're trying to get up to 1,000 likes immediately. So just click like, click share, and then let's just see what the ride's going to be. I want everybody to know that what we're doing here with the Good Grief Friday movement is we're telling a story. We're telling a story. And what you see this week here is simply the introduction. Welcome to the Good Grief Fridays movement.